Hello everyone, this is my third Garry's Mod tutorial, and I'm now going to be running through some of the construction tools in this tab here. Hello everyone, Zena here, and this is my third Garry's Mod tutorial where I'm going to be running through some of the construction tools. Now I'm going to be running through some tools which aren't in the game by default, but everyone kind of has because they should be default, if you kind of get what I mean. If you go into the add-ons section in the game here and go under tools, they will be there. And they are very simple to use, and you'll have to use them all the time if you're doing building in single player. So I'm going to run through them anyway because, yeah. So the buoyancy tool allows you to make things buoyant. So if I get a bathtub and give it a buoyancy of about 50, then you do that by left clicking, then it won't really float because that's not enough buoyancy. It's not buoyant enough. But if I put it to 100, then it's way too buoyant, and as you can see, it's just flown off. That's really strange. But if I was to give it to, if I was to make give something a buoyancy of say 75, then it floats perfectly because it's not too buoyant that the water acts like a spring, but it's buoyant enough not to sink, and this would be able to hold my weight kind of. So the next tool on the list, which again isn't in the game by default but everybody kind of has because it's very useful, is the door tool, and it does exactly what it says on the tin and allows you to create doors. So if I use this very simple door here and assign some keys to it, so say 1 and 2 on the numpad, and I'll turn off auto close. If I put this door here and then push the button that opens it, then it will open like that. And then if I push 2, it will close again, and that works the same for much the other doors that you can browse through here. And again, you can find that in the add-ons section in-game, and it's very easy to come by. The next tool is I won't go through the balloon tool. You get this one as default in the game, and well, it creates balloons. You can adjust the rope length, so if I keep it very low, and you can even make heavy balloons that drag things down by having it as a minus value. But if I put this as about 22, you see that's floating, but it's not enough to actually pull it off the ground. If I was to increase it, there we go, it'll make it float up in the air. And balloons are destructible unless you use the unbreakable tool on them, which I showed you in the last episode. Now the button tool comes as standard with Garry's Mod. You won't have all of these different types of buttons, like this just changes the model, but that's because I've got some other mods installed which adds some more. But you will get, say, the lever, or you get a few, 2 or 3 different ones, like this one and this one, I think. Basically, you can assign a label to it. So if I just call it button, and then I assign the key of like 0 on the numpad, and turn off toggle mode. If I then place a button on the wall, if I hover over it, it will say button, and then if I select something else, so I'm going to kill 2 birds with one stone here, the dynamite tool allows you to place dynamite that will explode when you push the key, and that's set to 0 on the numpad as well. So if I place that over here and then push this button, it will make the TNT explode, dynamite, whatever. And that could be used to open doors or whatever, and it's just quite a nice way of making it more, realistic. The emitter tool comes as a default tool in Garry's Mod and allows you to emit kind of particle effects. So if you want sparks, actually they don't weld when you place them down, so you have to weld them to things. And you assign a key to them, and you can set the delay, so like half a second. If I set it to like, well, it's not half a second, it's 0.05 a second. But if I set that and choose sparks, and then push the home key, because that's just what it was on, it will emit sparks. And there are other ones here, but these again were from some mods that I downloaded. But you'll find very quickly that when you download a mod, it will come with lots of other things for different various tools. So yeah, the next one is hoverball. Very, very useful. So if I just assign some up and down keys to it on the numpad, you can adjust the speed. The resistance, that's the higher the resistance, the less it bounces, but the harder it is to move. So if you want to create a vehicle, unless it's very big, so it has a lot of thrusters on it, I wouldn't set the resistance to be that high, because it'll be very hard to move. And the strength, again, unless you want something to kind of be a little uncontrollable, I would set that to the max of 10. So if I spawn, say, a washing machine, is that, yeah? Put a hover ball on top of it. It says the stats of the hover ball, and if I push the key, it'll make it hover. And they're kind of like a ball socket to the air, so that this could rotate like any way, and it could fly in any direction, but you can control them like that. And obviously if you wanted something to fly completely stable, actually I could do it to a vehicle here. If I get, say, this Jeep and attach hover balls to the shocks or wherever, just for the purposes of this, just do it quickly, then if I push the keys, the car will hover. And that's a very easy way of making flying vehicles. However, it's kind of cheating, because you're just making them hover. They're not really you know, they're not being propelled upwards, they're just kind of like defying gravity. Next we've got lights and lamps. They're quite similar, except with lamps you can choose, well no, you can, for both of them you can choose a key to turn them on and off. Lamps kind of project light, like you can choose what they project, so they can project Garry's Mod logo or whatever. You can choose the colour, and you can choose the model, and you can choose the FOV, so that the field in which they light up. So the greater this number is, the greater the the greater they will light, the angle will be greater that they light up. Kind of like FOV when you're playing a game. The higher it is, the more you can see. The greater the distance, the brightness, and whatever. So if I place a lamp there, you can see it's emitting the Garry's Mod logo onto the wall. And lights work very similar, except they just emit light around them. So if I place a light here and increase the brightness slightly, increase the radius, that's too bright. Let's turn the brightness down a bit. There we go. And I've set them both to the same key, so I can toggle them using /, and they'll turn on and off like that. Very good for making vehicles that you want to have lights on, and generally very useful if you want to make a base as well. Next we've got the no collide tool, which is pretty essential if you're making vehicles, because if you're welding two parts together with the weld tool, so say I'm welding this to this, if they were to be very close together and welded together, if they have, oh hang on, wait, there we go, if you have lots of parts, you can see they kind of doing that, because they're colliding with each other and kind of making the physics engine kill itself. But if you were to no collide props together, they don't collide with each other, they just go through each other like that. So if they were welded together, they wouldn't act like that. And also it's good for creating shapes which you couldn't create otherwise. It's a good way of creating like weird angles for things if you are building something quite extravagant. And again, very useful for making sure the physics engine doesn't die. Physical properties allows you to change how a object behaves, like what material the object would be made out of. So if I spawn something here like a filing cabinet, at the moment this is set to metal, so it acts like metal. It slides a bit, but then it kind of stops because it generates a lot of friction. But if I was to change this to wood, it would act more like wood. So that's probably not the best example actually. Actually, I know. If I set it to be super ice, it will become very slidey, so it will slide very easily. But if I set it to rubber, it won't slide much at all. And also you can make things super bouncy. So if I set it super bouncy, it'll bounce around like that. Now the remover does exactly what it says on the tin. Removes props or anything at all. It works on anything, entities, NPCs, anything it works on, apart from like ropes and constraints, because they don't count as entities. They count as kind of, well, constraints. They count as something else. So it doesn't work on that, but it works on everything else, apart from the world, of course, because yeah. And if you right click, it will remove everything that's connected to it. So if I was to weld these together and then just left click, it will just remove that. But if I was to weld these together and then right click, it would remove everything that is connected to from constraints. So very useful. The stacker isn't a default tool, but it allows you to stack things very neatly like that. Well, until you click too many times and it does that. And there's a whole lot of options here, but I won't go through them. You can discover them from yourself, because the chances are, if you want this tool, you're going to want to experiment with these for yourself for your own, you know, needs. Now, thrusters, probably like one of the best tools. They well, they allow you to push things around, and you can adjust the effects. So if I add flames for purpose of this, and added a kind of a drop ship sound to it, you can increase the force slightly. If I put it to arrow up and arrow down. Now if I was to place these on the back of a sofa, and you can change the models to, like, you know, massive thrusters if you wanted to. Then if I push the key, it will propel them along like that, and you can set them to toggle using clicking this here, so that when you push it, you only push it once and it'll stay on. And look, I mean, just like that, you've got a rocket sofa. It really is, you can just do anything in this game. I mean, look at that. So yeah, that's thrusters. Turret tools, something that was previously in Garry's mod. In Garry's mod 12 it was in, but it got taken out for Garry's mod 13. I can't for the life of me work out why they got rid of it, but they got rid of it. And again, you set keys here, set 0, you can adjust all kind of things, like the well, you can see what you can adjust here. Set the toggle key, and you can place it on entities or just a world. It'll spawn a little gun. When you push it, it'll fire some bullets using the bullet type and the shoot sound that you selected. Next you've got the weight tool, another essential tool which you can download just from the add-on section in game, or in fact through the workshop, but that's pretty much the same thing. I must mention, yeah, if you are looking for a specific tool or add-on, it's better to use the workshop, because you can actually search for it. If you use this here, it doesn't actually let you, you know, search for anything. So yeah, and the weight tool allows you to simply adjust the weight of something. So that has a weight of 33. However, I can increase it to 50,000 if I wanted to. And when I drop that, it actually makes the ground shake because it's so heavy. Like that is ridiculously heavy right now. And again, you can edit values by left clicking and then just typing as well. Now the wheel tool. Now this comes as standard as well. Now this allows you to create wheels which you can have them not to do anything. Oh, I must mention, when you're setting keys, if you right click, you can set it so there's no key to activate it. So if you just want a wheel that simply rolls and it doesn't have any power behind it, then you can do that. But for the purposes of this, I'm just going to set that as up arrow and that to down arrow, and select just a basic wheel here. And now if I get our friend the sofa here and attach some wheels to him like this, and if you hover over a wheel and press E, you can adjust the direction in which they travel. So let's make sure these are all going forward. And then if I push is this set to toggle? No, it's not. If I press the up arrow, it will then trundle along. However, you can see there it's not really working very well. The wheels are going a bit crazy, and that is because I've put the torque to the max. Now obviously you would want a lot lower torque. Torque is like the power that the wheel has. It's not necessarily the speed, but you would want something a lot lower because this doesn't weigh very much. But if you tapped it a bit, it would be fine. And that's yeah, again, a very good way of creating cars and trucks and tanks and things like that. And I think I'll do a separate video on how you can configure wheels to create tanks so you can independently move the wheels and make it turn on the spot and things like that. But that's for another video. Now that's the end of all of the construction tools which I think I should go over, but I'm just going to scroll down here and we'll go to the posing. So this allows you to change what allows you to change the face of, I think you can do it to NPCs now. So if I click onto face poser and click on him, if you left click it does that. Now if you press Q, or you can push C to bring up shut up. You can push C to bring up a small menu, but I just prefer to press Q, and then you can click randomize and it will create a random facial expression. So yeah, and you can also, the finger poser and the eye poser, they all do the same thing but just with individual parts of the body. And also there's the inflator, which, oh, that's the eye poser. See that I've made him look in one position. Why did I pick this guy? He talks all the time. Also the inflator allows you to inflate part of an NPC or a ragdoll, so I could give him a huge head. However, this just increases the size of the kind of graphic of the model. It doesn't, however, increase the size of the mesh of the model, so I can walk into him because there's no hitbox, because the hitbox is still the same size as the actual head, not the size of the new head. So yeah, there we go, and I seem to have decapitated him. That's Gmod for you. Yes, and so now we've got the render tools. Now in the render tools we've got the camera, which allows you to place a camera where you're standing. If you left click it will just look where you're looking, but if you right click on something, or well, now they've changed it, so if you right click it looks at you. So if I then push the key which I've assigned, which is what key is that? Ins, yeah. So if I walk around it will follow me. No matter how far away I go, it will always track the movements of my character, which is good for if you're recording some kind of, I don't know, Garry's Mod video, whatnot. Now I've got the colour tool, which allows you to change the colour of a prop, or anything for that matter, but it doesn't change the material, only changes the tint. If you drag this all the way down to the bottom it will go invisible, and also obviously if you have it halfway it will be translucent like that. You have the material tool. Now I've got a lot of extra materials from mods, although you do get a lot as standard anyway, but just for the purpose of this, if I select this and select that barrel again, I can change the texture of it, so now the actual texture's changed. However, you could then change the colour of it and it would give it a tint, but the texture would be different still. So if you want something to look more luminous, I'll apply a different material to it. Paint tool allows you to paint like individual splashes on things, so if you want to make bullet marks you can do so, and like kind of like blood marks like that. And trails allow you to add kind of a stream of kind of an effect behind something. So when I place it on this, it will leave a trail of smoke behind it like that, which is good if you have like a car or something and you want it to leave like exhaust fumes or whatever. Now all of this here is mods. If I feel like it, I'll do an individual video for ones that need particular attention, but I think that's it for the tools as of yet. Now one more thing before I go is that I want to mention that if you hold down C, it brings up this kind of interface, and you can change your player model here. So if you carry on holding down C, left click on this, you can change your player model, and you can get more of these like through mods or whatever. So I could be Shell from Portal, or I could be I don't know, the Lich King if I wanted to, or these other Combine or whatever, or a Skeleton. That's very strange, or whatever that is. I don't know what that is. I'll just change back to whatever I was. What was I? I'll just go as Master Chief, I think. and that will only reset once you die. And for the record, if you push the console key, which is above tab, and you need to enable this in the settings, it's called the developer console. If you type in kill and then enter and then push the console key again, it will kill your character, and then when you respawn again it will reset. So you can see my hand there, you can tell I've changed to Master Chief. Also, if you can change the colours of your player, but obviously it only does it for other skins, not this one, because this is fully textured. And you change the colour of your physics gun, which is what I'm holding here, and the beam. If you go to NPCs, you can make the AI, you can disable the AI by disable thinking, meaning if I was to disable their thinking, then spawn an enemy again, wouldn't attack me. They have no AI, they wouldn't attack opposing NPCs or anything. And if I go ignore players and then turn it off, they're activated, but they are pretty much invisible to them. And then whatever, you can change the weapon that they hold when you spawn them. It doesn't change existing NPCs. And friendly NPCs, if you click join player squad, follow you around. So if I damage myself a bit like that, and then if I go down to humans and resistance and spawn a medic, join player squad, ignore players off, he will now follow me because he's in my squad, and he will help me fight things, and he will actually heal me because he's a medic. Heal me. Do I need to damage myself more? There we go, and he healed me. Also, if you click drawing, you can change a whole bunch of options. Like, you can change everything to look like something out. Like, you can change kind of like texturization. I'm not sure if these are default, but I'll just say it anyway. You can change graphics options in game here. And also, if you spawn a prop or something like that, if you hold C and then right click on it, it changes depending on what it is, but you can kind of change things about it. So if I disable gravity, it no longer is affected by gravity. But if I turn it back on, it will just fall. Nice little desk here. You can drive it like this, but that is a very... I don't know why you would want to use this. It just kind of looks like you're holding it with the force. I think it's just if you want to move something very precisely, then it allows you to do so. You push E to get out of that. And you can also do keep upright, meaning that it will always stay upright. You can't move it, like you can't tilt it. It will always, it can turn like this, but it will never flip over. So if I was to add thrusters to the bottom of this, like this, a massive thruster, it won't veer off. It will just stay upright and go straight up. And that works the same for when it falls back down to earth, like this. See, it will always stay upright. And making something persistent means it joins the world. So it, like, it's still affected by physics, but it cannot be picked up, or tools cannot be used on it. It is now part of the world. So yeah, that's very useful for if you're on like a multiplayer or something and you don't want something to be touched. Don't know why that's still there. But yeah, very, very, very useful. So this is kind of going to be the end of me talking through the tools and the actual UI and everything. It was just meant to be kind of an introduction into what I'm going to be doing, because the main bulk of the tutorials is going to be me showing you how to build certain things and like kind of helpful tips, really. So it's kind of starting off as a tutorial, but it will kind of go into being a kind of how-to style thing, because I'm going to show you how to build like planes and all sorts and do some spotlights on different mods. But I think that's about it for today. So like and favourite if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.